Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're embarking on a journey into a really fascinating but also, well, pretty complex landscape. We're talking about the world of visas and employment in the United Arab Emirates. Now, it's a place that's just brimming with incredible opportunities, definitely.
Absolutely.
But also, as we'll start to uncover, it has some significant pitfalls that you absolutely need to be aware of.
That's right.
So our mission today really is to cut through all the noise out there. We've looked at a whole range of materials, official government warnings, detailed legal stuff, news reports on recent crackdowns, even insights from human rights groups.
A real mix.
Exactly. And the goal, plain and simple, is to equip you, the listener, with the essential knowledge, the key insights you need to protect yourself, and ultimately to make truly informed decisions if you're thinking about opportunities in the UAE. Think of this as, well, your shortcut to being well-informed.
And that vigilance you mentioned, it's not just, advisable, it's absolutely crucial. Because while the UAE is undeniably this global hub, a real beacon for people seeking work and new beginnings,
Yeah.
it's also a landscape where, frankly, a keen eye and a deep understanding are just paramount.
So knowing what is key.
Exactly. The unfortunate reality is that scams are prevalent, the regulations can be surprisingly complex, and grasping the nuances we're about to explore is really the key to a safe, successful journey for anyone looking to work or even just reside there.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. Let's try and really understand the environment we're talking about. The UAE isn't just a global crossroads, is it? I mean, the demographics alone tell an astonishing story.
They really do.
When I first saw the numbers for migrant workers, a staggering 88% of the population back in 2020.
Yeah, it's almost unbelievable.
My jaw practically hit the floor. That's nearly 9 out of 10 people working there, and predominantly in these vital, often low-wage or semi-skilled sectors.
That's the backbone of the workforce,
Yeah.
largely.
Right, we're talking huge populations. Top nationalities like Indian, Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Egyptian, Filipino, Nepali workers.
A truly global workforce.
And it's not just about who's coming in. The economic impact is just massive, isn't it? The remittances.
Oh, absolutely.
The UAE was the largest source country for remittances in Asia for 2019-2020. Billions of dollars being sent home.
Directly supporting countless families back in those home countries. It's a critical flow of capital.
So how is this huge system of migration actually structured?
Well, what's fascinating here is how it's been historically structured. It largely operates under, or at least has its roots in, what's known as the kafala system.
Okay, I've heard that term.
Yeah, you probably have. But it's important to understand where it came from. This system, it first popped up in the early 20th century, mainly to regulate foreign workers in the old pearl industry.
Way back then.
Way back then. And then it expanded dramatically in the 1950s. This was driven by the escalating demand for temporary labor needed for all those massive infrastructure projects.
The oil boom era.
Exactly, across the newly oil-rich Gulf countries. So it was really designed for a specific purpose: provide a seemingly endless supply of temporary labor for rapid development.
And what are the implications of that system today, even if it's been reformed?
Well, the implications, even in its reformed state, are still incredibly profound. At its core, it fundamentally ties migrant workers to their employer, who's often called their kafil.
The sponsor.
The sponsor, exactly. And this system gives the employer significant control over the workers' immigration status, their residency, their ability to work, and crucially, their ability to even leave the country.
Wow, that's a lot of control.
It is. And this high degree of control has led many human rights organizations, activists, to label aspects of it a modern form of slavery.
Strong words.
Very strong words. And sadly, we see common abuses stemming directly from this power imbalance. Things like passport confiscation.
Which is illegal, I thought.
It is illegal, but it happens. Workers being forced to pay these exorbitant, undue recruitment fees, enduring impossibly long working hours, living in often pretty dismal conditions, and facing outright wage theft.
So not getting paid what they're owed?
Exactly. And these issues are particularly rampant in sectors like construction, domestic work, certain service industries.
And you mentioned something about differential exclusion.
Yeah, that's another key aspect. The system also contributes to what's termed differential exclusion. Basically, it means migrant workers often remain separate from mainstream society. They're largely cut off from the social safety nets, the welfare benefits that UAE citizens enjoy.
So it creates a kind of two-tiered system.
Precisely. It creates a distinct social divide. impacting how migrant workers can integrate or even just access basic social support.
That paints a pretty stark picture, doesn't it?
It can, yes.
However, it's also important, like you said, to acknowledge that the UAE has been taking steps toward reform. You see laws prohibiting those recruitment fees.
That's true.
Removing the need for employer permission for workers to change jobs or even leave the country. There's apparently increased access to labor dispute resolution and this mandatory monthly wage payment through the wage protection system. On paper, these sound like pretty significant strides forward, right?
They absolutely do sound significant. And they are, in principle. But, well, this raises a really important question.
Which is?
Despite these reforms, these human rights abuses unfortunately remain alarmingly prevalent. The critical gap, it seems, often lies not in the laws themselves, but in their actual implementation and, crucially, rigorous enforcement on the ground.
So the law is there, but making it happen is the problem.
That seems to be a major challenge. For instance, you see allegations of forced labor being treated merely as sort of regulatory violations.
Not as crime.
Often not as serious crimes, resulting in maybe just fines or businesses losing their license, but not really deterring the behavior effectively. And what's also deeply concerning is that certain really vulnerable groups like domestic workers, shepherds, camel herders, farm workers, they're frequently excluded from the main labor law protections.
So they fall through the cracks.
Completely. It leaves them exceptionally vulnerable to exploitation with very little recourse. It's this complex challenge of moving from, policy on paper to actual practice on the ground.
Okay, so while that system has its own complexities and ongoing challenges, there's another danger, maybe even more immediate, that we need to talk about.
Yes.
Outright visa and labor fraud. And sadly, stories like Maria's, which we read about, they aren't rare at all.
No, unfortunately not.
She's a woman whose experience just tragically highlights this very real threat. Maria arrived in Dubai, absolutely over the moon, bags packed, full of this promise of a lucrative job at some prestigious company.
Believing her dream had come true.
Totally. But then as the days passed, her excitement just slowly turned to confusion and then just crushing despair.
What happened?
The company that promised her the job, totally unresponsive. The contact number she had stopped working.
Oh, no.
And when she finally went to the office address they gave her, nothing. An empty building.
Just empty.
Empty. And that's when the painful, devastating truth hit her. She'd been completely scammed.
And Maria's experience, as heartbreaking as it is, it's a depressingly common pattern. There are very distinct types of visa scams that people frequently fall victim to.
Like what?
Well, one of the most prevalent is fake job offers. These involve fraudulent companies, sometimes just individuals, promising these high-paying positions that in reality simply don't exist.
How does that usually work?
The scam usually plays out like this. Once the victim pays some kind of processing fee or visa fee up front.
Ah, the upfront payment.
Exactly. All communication from the scammer just abruptly stops. Radio silence.
Wow. And the other type?
Another common and equally dangerous type involves fraudulent visa agents. These are basically dishonest agents who exploit the system. They might charge unreasonable fees for fake visas, or they might manipulate the legitimate application process somehow.
Leaving people stranded.
Exactly, leaving individuals stranded without a job, without their money, and critically, without a valid visa. It's a truly cruel deception that just preys on people's hopes.
And the UAE authorities, they take this kind of deception, this exploitation, extremely seriously, don't they?
They do. The legal consequences for this type of fraud are, frankly, severe.
We saw that high-profile example in Dubai recently. The Citizenship and Residency Court convicted, 21 individuals?
That's right, 21 people, various nationalities. And they were hit with massive fines, totaling over 25 million AED.
Which is a lot of money.
That's more than 6.8 million US dollars. And these individuals, they had operated 33 fake commercial establishments.
Big company.
Just on paper, using fictitious addresses purely to obtain and then illegally sell 385 residency visas.
385 visas.
It was one of the largest cases, apparently, of misusing residency visas to exploit people. And it sends a powerful message.
And the general legal framework backs that up.
Oh, definitely. If we connect this to the broader legal framework, the penalties for visa forgery are indeed stringent. They carry significant weight.
How so?
Under UAE law specifically, Federal Decree Law Number 29 of 2021, Article 24, forging a visa or a residence permit or any related official document, or even just knowingly using such a forged document,
Yeah,
can lead to a very stiff penalty. We're talking imprisonment for up to 10 years.
10 years.
And crucially, for anyone who isn't a UAE national caught doing this, deportation from the UAE is mandatory in all cases.
So no second chances there.
No. This isn't just a minor regulatory slap on the wrist, it's treated as a serious criminal offense. Forgery itself is broadly defined under the Penal Code as altering the truth of a document to cause harm.
Which could be anything from changing text to fake signatures.
Exactly. Altering existing documents, using forged signatures or seals, creating entirely fake documents, it all falls under forgery. Article 252 says forgery of official documents can lead to up to 10 years, and Article 126 confirms non-UAE nationals committing fraud may be deported.
Right.
The message from the UAE's legal system is incredibly clear and severe. Visa fraud is not a minor issue. It's a zero-tolerance approach designed to protect their borders and their workforce from this kind of exploitation.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, our listener, if you're out there looking for opportunities? The big question now really is, how do you spot these scams before you become a victim?
Yes, that's the crucial part.
It's all about recognizing those red flags, isn't it? And taking proactive steps.
Absolutely. Think of these as your vital warning signs. The first critical red flag has to be a job offer. That seems too good to be true.
The classic sign.
The classic sign. Be extremely wary of any unrealistic promises, like immediate visas just appearing without proper documentation checks, or salaries that seem implausibly high for the role, or for your qualifications, or just for the local market rate.
If it feels like winning the lottery.
It probably isn't a legitimate job, exactly. Secondly, and this is a major flashing warning sign, is any pressure to pay upfront fees.
We keep coming back to this.
Because it's so important. Legitimate employers in the UAE rarely, if ever, require you to pay upfront for visas or processing. Any demand for such fees, whether they call it medical tests, document verification, visa processing, should immediately raise a huge red flag.
Real employers cover those costs.
Real employers cover those costs. And thirdly, just look out for a general lack of transparency.
What does that look like?
Well, if a company is vague about the specific work process, or the day-to-day job duties, or the intricate details of the visa application itself, or if they seem evasive when you ask clear, direct questions.
Dodging the questions.
Exactly. Proceed with extreme caution. Genuine opportunities come with clear, open communication.
Okay, so building on those critical red flags, there are very clear, practical, preventive measures you can take. These are directly drawn from official guidance, right? These aren't just suggestions, they're pretty essential steps.
Absolutely essential.
First, commit to thorough research. Before you even think about engaging, investigate potential employers and any visa agents involved.
Don't just trust their website.
No!
Yeah.
Don't just trust what they tell you. Use the official government websites, the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization, that's MOHRE.
MOHRE, yeah.
The General Directorate of Residency and Foreign Affairs, GDRFA for Dubai, or the e-Channels platform for other Emirates. Use these to verify their validity, their legal standing.
Are they actually registered? Do they exist?
Exactly. Are they real?
And that leads straight into the second crucial step. Verify all job offers. This is just non-negotiable. Any legitimate job offer for the UAE must be issued by MOHRE. You can easily verify its validity using the offer number they provide. Check it on the MOHRE website.
Or at the embassy.
Or, if you're still in your home country, contact the UAE embassy or consulate there. They can confirm if the offer is real before you make any moves.
Okay, third, and this is so important, understand the visa types. Be absolutely crystal clear on this. A visit visa or a tourist visa does not give you the right to work in the UAE, period.
Cannot stress that enough.
Working on that kind of visa can lead to severe penalties, fines, detention, serious legal trouble. Never, ever try to work on a tourist visa.
Just don't do it.
Fourth, remember that the employer is responsible for fees. We said it before, but UAE labor law states the employer is legally obligated to cover all recruitment expenses.
That means your visa costs, your flight ticket, associated processing fees. That's on them.
Right. You should not be paying for those things.
Number 5 is verify the company's legal existence. This goes a bit beyond just checking a flashy website. You should actually search the company's full name, both in English and Arabic, in the National Economic Register online. Does it legally exist? Is it active?
Tip.
6th, seek recommendations. If you can, talk to trusted contacts who already have experience in Dubai's job market or who are working there.
Get the inside scoop.
Exactly. Their insights can be absolutely invaluable. And seventh, just a general golden rule: avoid unnecessary risks.
Meaning?
Refrain from sharing overly personal information, bank details, passport copies too early, or making any financial transactions until you have thoroughly verified the legitimacy of the offer and the entity you're dealing with.
Okay, makes sense. And finally, a cornerstone of protection: know your rights.
Absolutely crucial.
There's apparently a fantastic Know Your Rights guide available online, specifically for workers in the UAE.
Yes, published by the government.
And MoHRA also has this labor claims and advisory call center. It's toll-free, 884, specifically there to provide assistance and advice.
Use those resources.
Definitely. And it's also vital to remember that workers are often exempt from litigation fees if they need to file a claim, provided it's under AED 100,000.
Which lowers the barriers significantly if you need to seek justice.
Exactly. So these resources are genuinely designed to help you. Don't hesitate to use them.
And this really brings us back to understanding the broader, often quite dire implications for individuals if they do get caught in exploitative situations, especially under the lingering aspects of the kafala system, even with reforms.
What kind of implications?
Well, many workers face crushing high recruitment fees and debt bondage. They're forced to take out high-interest loans back home just to pay these illegal fees.
So they start off in debt.
Exactly. Which then often leads to their wages being reduced or even withheld entirely by employers, supposedly to repay this debt. It's a vicious cycle.
And passport confiscation, you mentioned that?
Yes, passport confiscation. Still a common, though illegal, abuse. It remains prevalent, partly because sponsors often face no meaningful punishment for doing it. It leaves workers trapped, feeling powerless.
Wow.
Then there's the insidious practice of contract substitution. This is where the terms of the job offer you received back home, maybe a very attractive one, differ significantly, and usually for the worse, from the contract you're actually pressured to sign once you arrive in the UAE.
And it might be in a different language.
Often it is, perhaps in Arabic or English, which the worker may not fully understand, but they feel compelled to sign.
That's terrible.
Another really serious issue is absconding penalties. Workers who, often out of sheer desperation, leave their employers without permission, maybe even to escape severe abuse.
They try to get away.
They face fines, detention, and the threat of deportation. It effectively punishes them for trying to seek safety.
So they're trapped either way.
It can feel that way.
Right.
And of course, there are often just generally poor working and living conditions, overcrowded housing, unsafe work environments, which can seriously compromise their health, their safety, their basic well-being.
And you mentioned specific concerns for women.
Yes, a particular concern is the situation of migrant women, especially those working as domestic workers inside private homes. They face extreme isolation, extreme vulnerability.
Because they're hidden away.
Exactly. Hidden away, making them tragically susceptible to physical, psychological, and sometimes even sexual abuses with very little external oversight or practical recourse. It's a deeply worrying aspect.
That's a truly sobering reality check.
Yeah.
So, okay, what does this all mean if, despite all your best efforts, despite checking everything, you find yourself in a difficult situation?
Right, what can you actually do?
What specific actions should you take if you suspect a scam, or worse, realize you've become a victim? It's crucial to have a plan, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you suspect a scam, the very first thing you must do is pause and verify. Don't react impulsively or send more money or information.
Take a breath.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Step back. Independently research the company, the agent again. Verify any job offers or visa details through those official government channels before taking any further steps.
Okay. Then what?
Secondly, report the scam immediately.
Huh.
Report any suspicious activities to the relevant authorities, that's MoHRE, or the local police department.
Don't wait.
Don't wait. Timely reporting is absolutely crucial,
Yeah.
not just for your own potential case, but also to prevent others from falling victim to the same scheme. Your report could save someone else.
Good point. What else?
Third, stop communication completely. Cease all interaction with the suspicious company or agent. Block their numbers, their emails. Cut off all contact. Don't engage further. Don't get drawn into arguments or more demands.
Just cut ties.
Cut ties.
Right.
And finally, if you feel your rights have been violated, if you're unsure about an offer's legitimacy, or if you find yourself already in a vulnerable or exploitative situation, seek legal advice.
For who?
Look for organizations, NGOs, or legal aid services that specialize in migrant worker rights or employment law specifically within the UAE. And crucially, document everything.
Keep records.
Keep every piece of paper, every email, every WhatsApp message, contracts, payment receipts, any evidence of abuse or fraud. It could be vital later. Protecting yourself proactively is always the best approach. But knowing these steps if things go wrong is your absolutely crucial safety net.
Okay, so to summarize all this then, being incredibly informed, doing your homework, and exercising, well, extreme caution is just paramount when you're considering opportunities in the UAE.
It really is.
Understanding the legal framework, knowing your rights inside and out, and maybe most importantly, being able to recognize those crucial red flags we talked about.
Spotting them early.
That can truly make all the difference. The difference between realizing a dream and facing significant, potentially heartbreaking challenges. Your preparation and your awareness really are your strongest defenses.
And perhaps if we just connect this to the bigger picture for a final thought.
Yeah.
Think about this. Given the UAE's really strong push now for economic diversification, they're bringing in new regulations for virtual assets, crypto,
Yeah.
even the recent legalization of commercial gaming.
Right. Big changes happening.
Big changes. What new, maybe more sophisticated fraud avenues might emerge in the future because of these shifts? And how can future aspirants, perhaps like you listening now, stay ahead of these constantly evolving risks?
Staying vigilant in a changing landscape.
Exactly. It's an ongoing challenge. You can't just learn the rules once. You have to keep aware as things develop.
That's a really powerful thought to leave you with, and certainly something to consider as you navigate any global opportunity, really.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for listening to this deep dive, and we will meet again with another important topic.